noisy. Somebody got them. And now we're live.
We are live.
We'll give everyone a couple of minutes, though,
to join from wherever they are around the world.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if people can put in the chat who's from furthest afield. 2 of us based in Central Coast.
We are.
And next time in person, we'll do this in the surf club, like you said.
We will. Nicer backdrops.
Yes. Well, I'd say thanks everyone for joining us. Second time around, back by popular demand. A few technical issues with going online last week, so thanks for your patience. Thanks for joining us again. I don't know if you're getting stuff on your microphone there. Well, should we kick into this, Michelle?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, again, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us on our focus on unlocking life's potential and your path to purpose. So I'm Jacob Kenney. I'm the Director for Technology at Talenza. For those of you that don't know us, we're a recruitment agency focusing in technology, digital, and business transformation. So every couple of months, we hold a webinar like this one to help all of our broader network, people like you, to tackle those big challenges. This month, we're looking at something I'm passionate about as well, unlocking your potential through finding purpose. So that might be your own, that might be for your team, for your company. So we know that people are increasingly seeking purpose, and there's a lot of talk about people's why, people's values, and purpose through their work. When an individual work ties to their own purpose, and it aligns with the company-wide purpose, employees perform better, and we've got a lot of metrics to prove that. Employees are more engaged, and leadership initiatives are far more effective. So in the ever-changing talent market of 2023, we've seen a bit of a roller coaster over the last 2 years anyway, but the potential of recession, ongoing layoffs, there's an air of uncertainty, and job seekers have become a bit savvier in their career choices and craving a bit of stability, but not in the same way as previous generations. There's opportunities for progression, but not everyone is as set in their sights on that traditional notion of climbing the career ladder. So we often run motivator surveys and understand the feel of the market. So there's a risk of employees feeling increasingly isolated and disconnected from their workplace. Work from home is a big factor to that. So helping your employees find their purpose and find your own can fuel that passion, growth, unlocks huge opportunities for personal development, and has become a bigger driver for the talent across Australia in making those career choices. So to help us better understand how to unlock your own team and your own talent, we've invited Michelle Eagles, so the founder of Creating Conscious Leaders, to dive into the journey of discovering your own purpose. So that might be in life, that might be in work. Over to you, Michelle, for a bit of an intro.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jacob. I can just see we've got someone from Indonesia here online as well. That's pretty exciting. I reckon Noto will absolutely take the cake from Indonesia. So well done and welcome. Yeah, look, it's such a, I don't think it's a conversation that's ever really going to disappear in terms of finding your purpose, because it starts to evolve throughout your life, naturally. I think there can definitely be sort of underlying themes around what your purpose is, but it does evolve and continue throughout your life. And so it's really important to make sure you take time to connect with yourself and check in to see if you're on track with your purpose, or you sort of have defaulted and got sort of stuck in that transactional, day-to-day routine that's so easy to do.
And realigning your purpose, I think I've done this a few times, that my purpose has changed over the years.
And it does, like, yeah, it does, and it really does, because when you're young, it's it's harder to really understand what your purpose is. It seems really overwhelming, and it's quite a big concept to get your head around. But I think as you evolve, you start to question perhaps some of the values you had as a child growing up, or even as a teenager. And then what you valued starts to be tested, and you sort of think, oh, is this really aligned to who I am or who I want to be? And therefore, is what I'm doing leading me sort of closer to or further away from my purpose?
And I think that's a big factor, because for myself, I think I said to you previously, I had that purpose, and it was always about getting the family house by the beach with the surfboards on the side. But my purpose personally has changed more, focus on those values element, like you said then. But where does someone start with trying to find their purpose?
Well, I think firstly, there's got to be a willingness and an awareness that you something you value, because you can talk to someone about finding their purpose, but if they really don't care about it, then it's no point really having a conversation. I think really, I guess, creating some space for yourself, if it's something you're really keen to explore, is sitting down and writing a list of what's really important to you and what do you really value, what excites you, what gets you up in the morning. And it might be, you can sit down with a friend and ask each other questions. There's even card games you can play around helping you try and, put a group of words in the middle of the table, and you pick out words that excite you. And so sometimes it can be hard to find the language and to articulate what it is that excites you. But when you can look at sort of the more woo-woo side of things and look at your natal chart as well, and find out where the stars and the planet alignments were within the time you were born. And believe it or not, that underlying theme can also help you bring you closer to your purpose. So there's a lot of different ways, but creating this space to at least have no distractions to connect with yourself and what's really important is a great first start.
Because I always think purpose, and maybe I get it a little bit confused with, we talked about values there, but my targets, my aims, my aspirations. How do you think purpose aligns to sort of aspirations that people are pushing for?
Well, I guess you've got to ask if those aspirations are going to lead you towards the life you want to create, or the life that, you don't want to create. And it's something that it's a question that I come back to myself. It's like, is this going to lead me closer to the life I want to create or further away from? And then usually I sense check that, with my values. And, my values are, I become really clear on what's important to me: freedom, connection, family. Are probably my three top, and curiosity and growing and constantly learning, and my top sort of 4 values. And then there are a lot that sort of stem off that. But I think once you sort of get really clear on your values, they will help you almost achieve what you want to achieve in a better way, rather than focusing on the outcome, because the way you achieve them might not actually bring you happiness, or it might not be fulfilling. But if you're aligned to your values, it will feel more fulfilling.
That's great. And I think that's something I've tried to learn over the years. Once you find it.
I learn every day, and I'm like, why is this not feeling right? And I'm like, because it's not aligned to my values. And I sort of, slap myself and go, okay, Michelle, sense check.
And you have to come back to it. And you have to come back to, and I know a lot of companies have those values on the wall, but what are your personal values, and do they align to a company? But once you find it, is it something you always have, or can you go off purpose at all?
You can absolutely go off purpose. And I think that can happen quite unconsciously, because you can get caught up in a job or life, or, there's a lot that's going on in the world right now. And unless you consciously, I guess, stay connected to what's important to you, and you either have someone to check in with, or have them in your wallet, have them in your diary. Mine are in my phone, mine are in the front of a couple of notebooks. And so every time I'm seeing them, it's sort of, I can put alerts in my calendar and say, check in with myself, it's very easy to get distracted if you don't consciously check in with yourself.
How often do you do that?
Oh, at least daily.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
because I feel like I set this as sort of a monthly or quarterly reevaluation.
No, like every day I'd connect to, and even in the afternoon, sometimes I'll just grab space. I might be driving in the car to Sydney. I'll be like, so what have I done today? Has it aligned with my values? And I guess that's probably something I've trained myself to do every day, because I'm very conscious and aware now that work that I don't do that isn't aligned to my values will not leave me with enough energy to do the things that I guess love to do, because they drain you more and they take more energy and more effort.
And well, you've talked about your values. Well, what's your purpose? What is your purpose as a whole?
Oh gosh, I've spent the last 6 months probably trying to redefine this, because I have, hit a bit of early this year. I needed some recalibration. So, I think the underlying theme of my purpose is all about, creating greater consciousness and awareness and leaving the world in a better place. But I haven't nailed the elevator pitch, for want of a better word, but it's all about helping expand people's awareness, asking them questions to think about how they're doing things and whether they can do things in a, better way, giving people more confidence to be able to, make decisions that are going to help them in a role or in life that's going to align to make them feel good, which is their purpose. So really just about making people feel good and helping them, make better choices.
Leaving the world in a better place is an amazing thing to say. And I've, as an employer of leaders across businesses and industries, seeing a huge drive towards people wanting to be involved in healthcare or sustainability. And I often speak to leaders about being proud of what you've done in your career, where you work, the company you're part of, and the company mission. So leaving the world in a better place is a great take on that.
Yeah.
Has that always? It's good. That's the elevator pitch done. But you said you've realigned it recently. Has that always been your purpose, or how's your purpose evolved?
Look, as I sort of said before, I think it's always been the underlying theme of how I've gone into things, but probably haven't been able to articulate it or connect it. But if I think back to roles I've had, or businesses I've been into, or people that I've coached, or, even situations I've mediated, my goal's always been to, create an outcome, I guess, where there's been not a win-win, but people have had the opportunity to be heard, or things, are better in some capacity. So, I used to be a lawyer many years ago in my previous life, and my underlying theme, even as my South sign, is a Libra. So Libra, a very much, balance and justice. So it, and I didn't know that when I was, a lawyer, that there was significant, part of me. I knew my star sign, but I didn't understand probably back then as much as who I am now. And so it's fascinating to learn more about yourself as you evolve. You can see back why you did things the way you did, and what was driving me back then, but I wouldn't have been aware of it back then.
And you're talking about evolving yourself. So it might have been not understanding your purpose and your values before, but it might be that your purpose and values change as you evolve as a person.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think I definitely think one of my values when I was younger probably would have been fun and, a little bit more adventurous. And they're things that I like to bring back in now as my kids are older. But they certainly do evolve as we evolve. My career was really important to me, probably prior to having kids. And then that's just sort of shifted significantly. Whilst it's still important, I sort of work around the family and the kids. And so my family is more important to me than my career, because if my family's sorted, then I'm better at my work. So that's been probably a big shift for me, particularly becoming a parent.
And I was going to say that must resonate with a lot of people. Definitely resonates with me in terms of developing my career and the fun aspect and where I wanted to be. And now it's so focused. I've got little kids, so so focused on how do I provide them with the life and help them become good humans as well. There are many models around this that demonstrate how to find your purpose. And I think we'd spoken previously about the old Simon Sinek and finding your why and aspect, but there's Ikigai, I may have butchered it, the Japanese inspired model. What's your take on those models?
Look, I think they're great. I think nothing's, anything that provides you a framework to help challenge you and the way you're thinking, to get clear on, Ikigai, which is like passion, I can't remember off the top of my head now, passion, something you love, something you can make money at. I think, it's a good way to start asking yourself questions. And then from that, it can start to evolve. I actually I don't think I've watched Simon Sinek's Why video in, I almost said 10 years or so. I should probably go back and rewatch it. But I think, when you get up in the morning, it's like, what excites you? No one, wants to wake up and be a dickhead, or no one wants to go to work and go, well, I'd be disappointed if they did. Think, how can I, you like to think people want to go to work to think, how can I make someone's day today? What good can I do? Because when you're doing good and you're helping other people, you feel good. And, you know, I just think it's, you know, that whole element of kindness and, you know, consciousness can just raise the energy of those around you. So look, I think the models are a great start, but don't get like bogged down in them.
Are there any you'd particularly recommend?
Oh, look, I mean, Ikigai is a great place to start if you've never used any before. But I've, you know, got some questions to sit down and just sort of, and I'm happy to share them as sort of a bit of a handout afterwards. But, you know, it's like, what gets you up in the morning? What excites you? You know, what would you be doing if money was no object? You know, what actually brings you joy? And these can be really tricky questions to ask because sometimes joy can be such a foreign concept because there's a difference between just happiness and like that soul feeling, joy, belly laugh, you know, kind of feeling.
And there's instant gratification as well. It's like, is that joy long term, or is it short term gratification where you can do what's going to make me most happy over today? Or are you more utilitarian and the greatest good for the greatest number, or long term family focused? And how many generations do you focus on and care about in the future?
Yeah.
So it's finding that joy or excitement. I like that you say excitement as well. I probably haven't identified that. I've more focused on values rather than what really excites me. But like you're saying, what do you love? What are you good at? And what can you make money through is a great way to.
What do you like gets you up in the bed in the morning and like, you know, puts a spring in your step?
Great. Is that a question for me or is that for everyone?
Yeah. Like what excites you? Would you love to?
Oh well, I love that, and we'll go get all soppy here, but just putting a smile on my kids' faces, and how do I make them excited and want to learn and inquisitive, but I'm also a geek at heart, so give me some puzzles to solve excites me as well. But I think values wise, I often talk about this, honesty and trust. And doing the right thing. And even just simply, I looked at that when I was sort of reevaluating my values, and a lot of what my father had done was about doing the right thing. Even if it's detrimental to you, can you do the right thing? What is the right thing? And you were talking about everyone gets up and nobody's wanting to be a dickhead. Everyone's a hero in their own story. But
I've actually got a badge that says "Don't be a dick," and if I know I'm going somewhere, and I'll put it on and just, you know, for conversation purposes.
That's a simple one.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, what if? And it's hard. It's a hard one. But what if you can't find your purpose?
Look, I think just give it time. You know, don't be impatient because I think that it's not about having a purpose for sake of having a purpose. You need to deeply resonate with it, and it needs to excite you. It needs to inspire you. And it's okay not to know what that is. You know, go and sit down with a friend and maybe ask for feedback. What do you think I'm really good at? You know, and you have to be prepared to be patient. You know, read some articles on finding your purpose, read some books, start with using the models. But it's an evolution. So like it really took me a good probably 4 to 6 months this year of getting clear and really honing in on refining my purpose. And I was going through, I'd sort of shut my business and I was going to go back to the corporate world. That I'd sort of made that decision because I was missing a little bit of connection. And I thought I would find that connection being back in a corporate role. But after going through, you know, 3 or 4 months of interviews and not being, you know, getting down to the final 2, I sat there and it was like something just came and slapped me in the face and it said, sort of, Michelle, one of your biggest values is freedom. So how are you going to go into a full-time role for the next however long and have that freedom? And so it was the universe's way of just really testing me and putting me through, you know, a series of rejection, which has also been, you know, part of refining my purpose. So I got greater clarity on it. So there's a lot of things you can do, and look for the signs around you if you're open to that as well. You know, there'll be signs, there'll be messages, there'll be things that will pop up that, you know, you may not be used to seeing. So just open your awareness and start to look at things differently. Question things you've already know. You know, if something happens and it doesn't sit right with you, that's a sign that something's like either not aligned to your purpose or that your values might have shifted. You know, going out on a Friday night for social drinks might have been something that you really valued. But if you'd prefer to sit in and watch a movie now, you know, that's totally fine. And you've just got to go, well, maybe I value some downtime and I value, you know, space to re-energize.
And that's your values evolving as you evolve as a person, because we've probably all been through that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's, I think, a generational thing, and something we're seeing is, and I mentioned earlier, is that purpose aligning to people wanting purpose to align to their work as well. It's not this separate categories of work and life, and people take different values to each. I mentioned the candidate motivators survey that we do every year, and how we've seen a huge change in people's main drivers and motivators for what they're looking to do. I think I can't remember the exact percentages, but the percentage of senior leaders that value purpose of a business in their top 3 motivators has more than doubled. It's like in the 70s or 80% now as well. So aligning to your work, to your values as well.
Yes.
It's been, and there's been a lot of talk, and I think coming to the end of the year, this gets spoken about a lot in terms of burnout and tough market. We're talking about potential recession and that uncertainty. And it's been said that if you suffer from burnout, which I was reading a lot about, which is more that working hard and not seeing return on investment and not seeing the return on the graft you're putting in. So if you suffer from burnout, you're not aligned to your purpose, would you say? Do you agree?
I do actually. Okay. And I think you've probably shifted further away. I mean, your body's really smart. Your body gives you really clear feedback if you're, I guess, open enough to sort of listen to the signs and to listen sort of what's going on. And burnout is a sign of your body saying, hey, we're not talking the same language here. It's working too hard and too far away from things that you value and that matter to who you are. So, and look, I've had that a couple of times throughout my career when, potentially my ego is encouraged me to take roles that haven't been aligned to my values at the time. And, I get pretty clear feedback from my body that I'm now more in tune with and I listen to. And so I sort of can connect with that and start to manage it. But yeah, look, if you're constantly getting burnout, I'd sit and ask, what are the values of the organization? What are my values? And see how they align. And do a bit of an audit on, the time you're spending at work, what are you doing versus what you value?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And burnout, I can't remember, again, not remember the exact stats on this, but there was a Gallup survey on the amount of people that are quietly quitting in their job because they're feeling burnout. And it's like 50% of people, thousands of people answered this Gallup survey. And whether it's burnout, but they are not aligned or not seeing the return on investment or aligned to the purpose of the business. So
yeah, I think it's so disappointing. Like the whole quietly quitting thing. I mean, I get it, but I think it's also disappointing because for me, that's a leader not providing a safe space for employees to feel like they can have a conversation with them about what's really going on. And I'd love to see that number completely decrease, where employees value the purpose of their individuals and can help shift their roles to. And look, your role may not be 100% aligned to your purpose, but if it's 75 to 80% aligned to your purpose, that's a pretty good I guess percentage. Yeah. So let's, I guess, to be really clear, there are some organizations where you will totally align with and you'll be game on. It'll be like you're in flow and it's magical. But, sometimes there does have to be a bit of a reality check that so long as, more than 3/4 of your values are being met, there's always going to be parts of a role that we don't enjoy. That's just how it is. But then again, you might also find someone else that enjoys that part of a role. And if you can be open enough to have those conversations and be transparent sort of as a team, and if you're savvy enough as a leader to start to sort of identify those things, you'll bring the best out of your employees and you'll get so much more in return from them because they feel seen and valued and heard.
And that's valued is a huge factor for it. Is people want to feel valued in the workplace and they're part of, and see what they're doing is making a difference. And it can be hard. It doesn't mean being happy in every role you're in and everything you're doing, but driving and being aligned that you're making impact.
Yeah.
I was going to flick to some of the questions we've got from everyone. So Here's one. As an employee, are you more interested in working for a business that communicates a strong sense of purpose?
Ooh, I'd say, given where I'm at my age now, absolutely. Every business that I applied for a role, I did a lot of research around what were their values and asked a lot of values-based questions. Because for me, it's really important to know that what I'm doing is helping create, a better environment or a better future or diversity or something within that business. So it's really actually interesting time to have this conversation, because yesterday I was at a client's office where none of the team really enjoyed what they did, and they were all pretty much on the way out, and they're there for the money, not for the purpose. And it was quite confronting, because I haven't seen that in years. And the morale was really low. Leadership was not fantastic, and there was no willingness to evolve. It's kind of it's the my way or the highway kind of approach from the leader, which was, again, really disappointing. And I kind of thought we were almost, I don't know, not past that, but a lot of that old system of leadership had evolved. But clearly there are still some businesses where it's very much that dictatorship, and there still are employees caught in that space of, I'd love to do my purpose, work on my purpose, but I'm actually too scared because right now I just need to pay my rent.
It's command and control environment over that.
And it was really sad, to actually see people feeling that way.
I'm probably seeing a lot more of it right now. Like, it's been, we've probably gone through 2 years of huge growth, strong economy, and now we're going to see a lot of businesses. We're seeing redundancies. A lot of the startup space have been struggling to get venture capitalist funding, so haven't been growing out. So then it might be a point, and always the Christmas break is the time when people realign and think about their purpose and what's right for them. Yes. But they're like, businesses are struggling, and it's been harder for somebody to actually see the reward of what they're doing. So we've seen this increase in burnout, but definitely a time for people to focus on realigning what their purpose is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the old question that if someone asks you over the Christmas table, how's your year been or how's work going? Actually listen to what you're saying. Like, are you proud of the place you're working, or is it just a paycheck? And everybody can do their job with passion, whether it's, stacking shelves at Coles, or it's, moving someone's house. There was an analogy I read years ago, and I can't quite remember the book, but there was 2 hospital cleaners, and, one used to turn up to work immaculately dressed, and the other one was, just sort of rocked up to sort of work and was cleaning hospital rooms. And this guy sort of saw the 2 of them and sort of said, look, why do you might remember this story. Why do you, come to work when, take so much pride in getting dressed? And he's like, because I am given the privilege to clean these hospital rooms to make sure when people come in for surgery, it's clean, it's sterilized, and there's no chance of them getting sick. And the way that he chose to look at what he was doing was phenomenal. Yet the other person thought he was just a shit kicker, for want of better words.
Yeah, the positioning,
what you're doing. Yeah.
And positioning it, one of them is positioning it that I'm cleaning up mess, and one's positioning that I'm helping save lives, and how you position what you're doing and value it. Yeah. And I remember hearing about that. And I'm just looking at some of these, as employers, what can they do to help employees uncover their purpose? So you work with leaders. How do you do that?
Be open. Really provide them a really safe space and encourage them to find out what their purpose is, because when you help them connect with their purpose, it'll actually benefit you guys more. I'm a big believer in people first, and the profit will come. Sometimes we have so many amazing people in our teams, but we don't really know them, or we don't give them the space. Have suggestion boxes, and I think it's something you need to do, even having people in to talk to your employees around how they find their purpose, and therefore what are the opportunities in the business where they can connect to their purpose. And it might be through, charity days, or it might be through other opportunities or projects that come up in the business. And when someone's engaged and connected, and this is particularly, for ADHD kids, and my son is ADHD, and when he's connected to a purpose, he is micro-focused. Anything he's not interested in, doesn't even matter, isn't even on his radar. So even the neurodiversity model and side of things is so important to consider when people are interested in something and aligned to adding value, like you will get, tenfold out of them.
And that's the transition, I suppose, from diversity and inclusion to it being more about diversity and belonging, because people don't want to feel included, they want to belong. And if the company's purpose, and whether that be the company's main goals and what it's doing for its customers, or what they're doing for social impact, if that aligns to your goals, you feel included. The belonging side, belong rather than just included to be part of that, but they don't value that. So in the work,
I'll quickly show you, like I read this quote the other day. I've been doing a lot of reading, but like inclusion is being asked to the dance, belonging is being asked to dance.
Yes, I've heard that one as well.
Like, it's great. It's so simple, but it's really, it says it all.
Yeah, and it's, I think a lot of it, and I like different channels and how people find connection with other people that they work with, which can be harder in a smaller business. But do your value right. So in the work you do with I'm just looking at these. So in the work you do with leadership teams, how do businesses articulate their purpose and then bring their employees on the journey with them?
Well, I think it's spending time, really getting clear on what that is together, and making sure they're very united in not only what their purpose is, but the way in which they're going to achieve that. So it's great to be clear on the purpose, but it's almost the values or the behaviors in how they're going to achieve that are also really important. And there's also a responsibility from the leaders to lead and behave in that way, aligned to that. I'm sure like me, you've had plenty of examples where you've said, this is our purpose, these are our values. And then you actually witness leaders doing exactly the opposite. That discredits any form of purpose or value or behaviors, in an instant. So I think, once you've got clarity on it, it's really embodying that. And if people aren't aligned to it, then they need to question probably why they're there. And, I've had conversation with leaders that have straight out said to me, look, this isn't really what motivates me. I'm purely driven by money. I'm purely driven by profit. And if that's the case, well, that's the case. You've just got to, I guess, try and navigate that with an open, mind and awareness, and just make sure it doesn't affect, I guess, the majority of the perception, and, call that out.
And I think there needs to be what's the reason for that? Why do you want to drive profits? Like, what's the end result of that?
Absolutely.
Why do people want to earn money? Like, I speak to people every day about their motivations and what's right for them in terms of a career move, and salary is a factor, but it's not the end factor. It's that, what does that help you provide? Why do you need that? It might be mortgage that you're looking at, or child's education, or what you want to do, or partners going on paternity leave and being able to fund that. There's got to be a reason behind it, but it's all about our whole role is about motivations and what drives that, and does that align to a business's motivations as well. And going back to the values, every company talks about their values, and I love the ones that I speak to that when they're giving us context as an arm of their business to help them find talent for them, they talk about the values, and they say this comes up in the interview process, and they actually follow suit with that from top to tail in the business, because a lot of businesses don't even, and when we're being an advocate for the business, it's not something they bring up right away. So it's really great to understand those business and what their purpose is. Is there any other advice that you give to people in terms of finding that purpose and how they put it into practice?
I think be patient is probably, as unhelpful as that might be, it's be patient, and keep an open mind, question yourself, spend time connecting with your body, and, if something doesn't feel right, ask yourself why that doesn't feel right. Write lists down, and then, color the lists, and, then, write the list every morning of things that motivate you or excite you, and see what the pattern themes are. There's lots of great, books you can read. And I know Renee's shared some articles in the comments link as well. So you can download those and reference those as well. But it's really about, like, genuinely creating the space to connect with yourself and find out what really motivates you and excites you and brings you joy.
And what would you say for people that, how do they avoid that situation where they land what they think is their dream role? I'm taking it back to recruitment, but only to discover it's not aligned to what was promised or to their values. How do people avoid that?
Well, I think recruitment, we've got to remember it's always a two-way conversation. So there's the company interviewing them, but as a candidate, you're also interviewing the company. And so, asking them and getting really clear on what they do that demonstrates those values, or, how do even the person interviewing you, what do they do that demonstrates their values? And even being super transparent about do they think they do a good job of demonstrating, and actually living by their values. I think it's hard because I think there are more and more, recruitment's an expensive process to go through. It costs a lot to, replace somebody who's been very valued. So you want to be really clear on both sides and prepare yourself well in an interview process, which I love. When we were talking before off screen, you were talking about the work that you guys do with the candidates to make sure that they're really invested and certain around what they're looking at, and you really know the company's drivers. I had a recruitment agency the other week who referred me to a client to do some work for them, and I actually rang him back and I said, look, this is not a business that you want to be associated with, because who they say they are and how they behave is not aligned. And he was like, wow, thank you, so much. And so calling that out as well is really important. Not being afraid to say, look, that wasn't right for me. That's why there are so many businesses out there that are suited to different types of people, because different types of people value things. Some people care more than others. Some people just want to do a great job. Some people value opportunity and growing more versus just coming to work and being there 9 to 5 and being able to switch off. So there's different types of businesses for everybody.
And whether it's flexibility, work-life balance that people are looking for, if it's the end goal, it's improving stuff, it's staying at the forefront of technology. There's so many different ways that people want to focus, but it is so important for both sides of the fence when joining a business to understand, is this a business that I'm going to be passionate about, that aligns to my purpose and values? Because like we said at the very beginning of this, a more engaged employee is more successful. And in our position, there's nothing we want more than somebody to go into a role and love it. And they'll be successful and they'll drive it and they'll stay at the business for longer as well. Is there anything else you'd add? Otherwise, I think we might wrap up this great conversation. I'm definitely going to take away that I'm going to be realigning my values on a daily basis rather than looking monthly.
So I wouldn't say realigning on a daily basis, but checking in with yourself. So you probably only realign them when they don't start to feel. I don't realign them on it, but I definitely check in with them and sort of, go, what have I done today that's given me some freedom, provided me with connection, given myself an opportunity to grow. And there are lots that stem sort of off that. But, it's a good feeling at the end of the day to go, yeah, I've actually, achieved that. I don't think there's anything else. I think we've covered a fair bit. But just keep reading, open your mind, be open, listen, observe, slow down, and be patient.
I hope everyone listening takes away to go and think about this, think about what your values are, what your purpose is. Does your work and life align to that right now? And then what gradual changes you can make to make yourself more aligned, or to help your business and your team around you be more aligned and focus on that purpose. But amazing. I really appreciate it.
So great to chat, Jacob. Thank you.
I shall see you at the surf club next time.
Sounds great. Fabulous. Take care.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.